Hey guys, Chris from Godsend Wraps here, and today I just wanted to give you a quick overview on how to wrap the face of a wheel. I figured this would be the perfect wheel for it since it has a clear face and black accents in the back, and it's very simple to wrap, and so I figured this would be the perfect wheel for the video. So first step would definitely be to clean the wheel as much as you possibly can with isopropyl alcohol. I usually use 70%. I start from the center and then work my way out, since usually on wheels, especially if they've been, tire shined before, that stuff can get on everything and it really causes vinyl not to stick. So you do not want to get that anywhere that you're going to be wrapping, so I recommend cleaning from the inside outwards and then finishing up with the rim. The main tools you're going to need for this is of course the vinyl, which is really just going to be the diameter by the diameter size square piece. I recommend a brand new, you can't really see it there, but a brand new 30-degree blade, because you want it as sharp as possible so it can cut the vinyl as smoothly as possible. And you're going to need a heat gun as well, so that you can conform the vinyl around the edges, and a wrap glove. Now, I would recommend only doing this with wheels that are just a face wrap. I wouldn't recommend wrapping all the way around the insides of the wheels, mostly because with how much time that's going to take, it's going to cost a lot of money for the customer, and you're going to get a result that's going to be worse than if they just got a powder coating, and it's most likely going to be more expensive. So for the customer, it's just overall best if they get a powder coating instead of a wrap, unless it's a face wrap. Also, I did wrap this whole car in this color right here, which is Tech Wrap blue-purple color shift. I know it's not the highest up brand, but it was the only one that matched the color that the customer wanted, and so I'm going to be testing out matching the wheels to the wrap and see if the customer likes it. So first step, I'll put on my glove and then grab the piece of vinyl I have. I have it right over here already prepared. I already took the clear protective coating off of the top, and so just to make it more conformable, make it easier to work with, I'm going to peel the backing paper off. Going to lay it right over with the width matching. So the static electricity is usually enough to just hold it on the surface, which makes your life so much easier. And I usually start by going around the center and then just going very lightly so that the vinyl doesn't feel the need to crease in between these edges. I just want it to lay flat over everything. So I just go light over it like this. Keep everything real light. I'm not even pressing down very hard. I'm pretty much just skimming over all the surfaces. See, like down here, you don't want that to happen. There we go. Yep, just skimming over it. Make it so there's no real fingers on the outside. Then I go around the outside, seal all that right down. We are. Okay, we got some good coverage there. Now I'll usually take my heat gun, fire it up, and just go around each of the areas that I'm wrapping. I'm not doing anything with the center quite yet. I will be soon, but as for right now, I just want to go around here. As you can see, the vinyl fingers up, but then once it flattens out, you know it's at a good heat, and then you just run your finger right over it. You don't really want to wrap it around since we're going to be doing the face trim, but you want to make sure it's conforming and really sticking to those edges the best it possibly can. So I'll blast all this with heat just to get over here. And then all this. Take your time with this. You want to make sure that all of these edges are really sturdily on there, since you're going to be running your knife along them. And you do not want this getting bunched up. And you definitely do not want to try and trim vinyl that's warm. You never want to do that. It will always flex around the knife, and that will only cause you problems. It will bunch up, it won't be a clean cut. You want all this vinyl to just be nice and cool and ready to go down. I'll worry about heating up the edges and going right to the edges a little bit later. Now I'm going to worry about the center. So right here, we have pretty much perfect coverage right here. You can't really ask for anything better than having it this smooth. And so now that it's cooled down, remember the size of the circle in the middle. You do not want to cut too much out of here. You only want a very light relief cut. And so what I do is I just find the direct center and I just cut a really small hole from the direct center. You don't want to take off too much here, because if you take off too much, then it will ruin the entire piece. And that is the absolute last thing you want. Then you want to heat the center as much as you can. And then you're going to work on the outsides. You want to go bit by bit, because if you push down one side all the way, it will bring this circle over. And so if you want to wrap this center circle, I would recommend doing it in a separate piece than this one, just so that there's not any stretch on it, because there is quite a bit of stretch. As you can see, it goes down quite a bit. And so you do not want that much stress on the vinyl. It just, for longevity, it just will not work out in your favor. So just pressing around here. Constantly going back, heating up the middle. And now I'm down pretty much at the face. Glove keeps grabbing. Yep, I'm down at the face. Still gonna heat up only the center. As you can see, it expands a little bit, which is good. That means the vinyl is relaxing into it. And then you just press right around here. Right around this edge. Make sure you don't get any fingers or anything. Make sure all that's nice and smooth right there. Now, what's great about this technique is all of the stretched vinyl is now in the center, and that's the scrap that you're going to end up getting rid of later. So all of this is still relaxed vinyl, and so that has a very, very low chance of lifting. But I do recommend going through here, being very careful while you do this, only letting out a tiny bit of the knife so that none of the wheel will get cut. You definitely do not want to cut wheels. These are Vossen wheels, so I definitely don't want to cut these. So I'm just acting very carefully. And those relief cuts will relax a lot of the vinyl around here. As you can see how they're separating. And then I'm just going to press it around just as we did on the outside. Right on the inside here. Alright, there we are. Now we're at a stage where we want to start trimming out all the vinyl. And this is the stage that usually makes people very worried. And to be honest, you should be. This is a part that could scratch the wheel, it could damage the wheel, and you would be responsible for fixing it. So you got to be really careful with this. Too many people are not careful, and then they end up with a lot of problems. And so you do not want that to happen. So I recommend a brand new blade, nice and sharp. You only want to leave out about that much blade, just a tiny bit. You just want to leave out just a little bit, just a smidge. And then when you're coming in here on these edges, you want to go at a 45-degree angle or farther outwards. The more flat out this way, the less of a chance of the blade hitting. You definitely do not want to cut straight unless the wheel goes straight back. But as you can see with this one, it comes in at an angle. So I do not want to do that. So I'm just going to run my blade right along that edge, really light, it's pretty much just skimming the surface. And I'm turning the blade as I'm going towards the curves. There it is. Yep, see? The wheel is right there. So if I have too much blade out, it'll cut that. And that is, again, the last thing I want. Running it lightly, and then running it around the curve. Just going as light as I possibly can around these curves. There we are. So far, the blade is still very happy. It's not dulled at all. As soon as the blade starts catching, I will snap the blade and bring out a new one, because it just isn't worth it to me for it to bunch up. Because normally what happens is, if the blade is too dull, you'll get zigzags right along the edge. And it looks absolutely horrible, and it's extremely hard to fix. And so you can fix it if you're lucky, but the best way is just prevention overall. You just want to prevent it from happening. So now I've made it to the bottom. I'll usually just cut this part off. And then get this final edge right around here, this final little loop here. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Going as soft as I possibly can around this edge. Putting absolutely zero pressure down. Just running it right to the edge. This part of it came up a little short, so I'm just going to go back around and trim that a little bit. Alright, there we are. Little tag here, and that a little bit. It's always best to go back over it. If you have a little tag that you missed because I trimmed it off, sometimes that's best. But right now I can tell the blade is not as sharp, so I'm just going to break the blade. And then continue. You want to go all the way around this whole thing until you're finished. I'll do one more with you guys here, and then I'll skip to till all this is done. So, I'm going to go over here. This is a separate part of the wheel, so it's going to be a little bit different. Brand new blade, so it's cutting like butter. Going right around here. It's back. Glide down. I know you've probably seen those videos on Instagram or any sort of reel, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or YouTube Shorts, where it has somebody just doing this really fast with a blade, just running right through it, getting it done in 2 seconds, and then you got a perfectly wrapped wheel. As nice as that is for time savings, I would never recommend anybody do that, because you're putting yourself at risk of making a mistake. And making a mistake on something like this could mean damaging a very expensive wheel. So overall, I always say take your time, make sure you're doing it right. Really take the time to put out a polished product. Because when it comes to cutting something with your blade, you only get one shot. Once it's cut, you're pretty much, you gotta fix it. And there's no other way out of doing that. Alright. This part's a little tougher, so I want to get a good position to do this in. All right, perfect. All right, so that's 2 of them cut out. I am going to do the rest on my own. I'll probably just record it in a time lapse, and then I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, so now that we have all of these cut out, now we're pretty much left with 2 extra steps, or 2 steps left, which is trimming the inside and then trimming the outer rim. So normally my favorite tool to use for right in here is this. You can use your fingernail, but using one of these fine edge tools definitely makes it a lot easier. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick at the edge, and it's gonna be stuck down, so it may be a little tough to pick, but you're gonna lift up the edge and just pop it from your center cap. Now, since I have so much left in the center, I'm going to trim off some of the excess. Now again, I only have my blade sticking out a tiny bit so that you don't get any cuts. I just want to cut off this extra right here that I do not need. I've gone through quite a few blades trimming the outside edges. Which is that's sometimes just what it comes to. I don't have the highest quality blades here, so they don't stay sharp as long, but that's perfectly fine with me. With my 60-degree blades, which are the ones I use most of the time, I have the higher quality Olfa blades. While with these, I just get kind of the cheap Chinese ones because I just don't end up using them. To be quite honest, this is really the only application I use the 30-degree, unless I'm cutting out holes in an advertising band or something, or rivets. I'll use it for those, but other than that, it doesn't get used very often. But come around here. And now I'm just tucking that edge. And I usually finish it off with my fingernail, but I just tuck around that edge. And you want to make sure you're loosening the vinyl, you're lifting it, and then tucking it right in. Or just constantly lifting and tucking. Just trying to get the vinyl as deep as possible into the recess so that you have the best trim in the end. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Now you can either trim it with your fingernail or you can use the knife. I'll sometimes use my fingernail, but this time I'll use my knife. And I'll heat it up just to get it all settled. I will use my knife. I'm not gonna wait for it to cool down now that I've heated it up. Yep, with this, you're not really running the risk of cutting the wheel since it's a recess, but you always want to make sure as you're cutting, the blade doesn't run off and scratch on the outside. That can sometimes happen, and so it's best to just be as careful as possible while trimming to make sure that that does not happen. Because those scratches are sometimes the worst to happen. Alrighty. Yeah, peel that off. Perfect. Alright, that is looking Good. And now we're left with just the outside rim. This is what we have left. And so one thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off these corners. They're just unnecessary. They're in the way, so I'm just going to get rid of these. Okay, now I'm going to go over it with heat one more time. I am going to be face trimming this edge. Depending on the wheel, you'll want to trim around it. You want to tuck it around and then trim on the inside rim. But with this one, it's just better if I face trim it since around the edge is all black. So I don't need to wrap it all the way around. And it'd be a little bit more difficult, so I won't. I'm wrapping it a little bit in with the heat, but not enough to affect the face trim. So now I'm just going to wait quickly for that to cool down. So far I'm happy with it. I think it may look good with the car, but I'll have to ask the customer and see if she likes it. So if she ends up liking it and wants to keep it, then I'll leave it on. If she doesn't, whole thing's getting ripped off. But, you know, sometimes that's what you gotta do for customers. All right. Yep, so I'm just getting this ready for the face trim and running around. So far it's looking good. It's a little tough to do because of the angles that you have to hit with the knife and the fact that you're going around a curve the whole time. It's just making sure you hold that angle correctly and run it evenly around the whole wheel. Definitely not the easiest thing to do, but like right here, cut down a little farther. So to even it out, I just gotta rerun my blade along here. Yeah, now I need a new blade. Boop. There we are. And that right there is a finished wheel. The shifting effect on it's really cool, where it goes from blues and purples. And so, yeah, that's how you wrap the front face of a wheel. Hope you all enjoyed. Come back to this channel if you want to know any other wrapping tips. All right, have a good one. God bless.